I spent the last 7 weeks studying every single video I've ever made, from the 0 views to the million views, just to see if I could find exactly what I did that made such a difference. And I found 5 things, actually. So in this video, you and I are going to cover these 5 things so you don't have to overthink these things ever again. Not only did I go through all my videos, but I went through 100 others, all different creators, all different niches, all over 250,000 views, all just to see what the average length of a successful intro is. That way I could stop second guessing if my intros were too long. And from that 100, I found that the average intro length was 49 seconds. But when I focused specifically on my niche, I found that the average was 29 seconds. As for my successful videos, the average intro length was 31 seconds. Just goes to show that what works for one channel doesn't work for all channels. But what works for channels in your niche might just work for yours as well. Pro tip: practice your intros out loud and time yourself on your phone's stopwatch. As for my unsuccessful videos though, well, these 2 videos each took about 2 months to create, start to finish. The first one, clearly about AI. Let's take a look at that intro. Check 1, check 2. Okay. Alright, now let's take a look at the one about editing. Let's talk about editing. Let's talk about editing. Can you guess which one the viewers stuck around for? Now, both of these videos did deliver on what the packaging promised, but when they click this, and then they see this, and nothing really happens for like the first 15 seconds, why wouldn't they stop watching? So now, when I'm writing a script, I make sure to connect what the viewer expects to what I'm saying in the intro. That way, I don't have to overthink how to start my videos. Pro tip: it also helps if your intro visually matches your thumbnail in some way. Pro tip, another pro tip: when writing a script, whatever part you're writing, read it back out loud. And if it doesn't sound like how you would say it in real life, then rewrite it so it does. This makes your content more authentic and helps the viewer connect to you. Also, when you're talking like yourself, it makes filming a whole lot easier, especially if you're somebody who does many takes. I don't know if I'll ever stop doing multiple takes, but I did find a solution that saves me literally hours of editing. When I was going through all my videos, I remembered that this one only took me 18 hours to do, start to finish. I rushed it because it was a trend that was picking up and I couldn't afford to be a perfectionist about it. Which means that when I was filming, as soon as a take felt good enough, I had to move on. I didn't have a choice. But normally, this is what I would do. That was good enough. I'll do a couple more to be safe. Every time, I swear, when I felt like it was good enough, the 20 takes that came after it were all the same. So now, when I'm filming, when I feel like a take is good enough, I force myself to move on. Not only because it's efficient, but because I have to now. And the reason is because I cut every single take but the very last one. I don't even look at the first ones. Now, this is pretty easy to do. If your software has a transcript tool like Premiere's text tool, then you can just look for the last time you said something and cut everything before that. But if your software doesn't have something like that, then all you gotta do is just make a marker in your footage. You could just like raise your hand, or you could cover the lens, you could wave a flag, whatever. It doesn't matter as long as you realize it's the marker that was your last take. Now you might ask, how do you know when a take is good enough? Good question. And good news. A good take only takes 2 things. Clarity, you said everything clearly and correctly. And number 2 is, like I said before, authenticity. You spoke like you're talking to a friend. Pro tip: how many videos have you seen where it looks like the creator's looking slightly to the left of you? It's because they're looking at their camera screen and not you, the camera lens. If you can't help looking at yourself, then flip the screen back. And if you're using your phone, don't use the selfie mode. Nothing makes a viewer feel more disconnected than a creator avoiding eye contact. Know what I mean? Speaking of connecting to people, I do these thumbnail review streams every Wednesday where people can submit their thumbnails and we talk about where they can improve. It's a blast. I'll see you there. Tell me John sent you. But at the beginning of these streams, before we ever get to the first thumbnail, I always remind chat the 3 things a thumbnail must do to be good. Number 1, convey the idea. Number 2, create curiosity. And number 3, catch the eye. Pretty simple. If my thumbnail doesn't do these 3 things, then it's not good enough. I'm done overthinking that. But after creating it, it's sometimes still difficult to know if your thumbnail is doing what it's supposed to, especially if you've been spending hours on it. What do you think the goal of this video is? The last thing I do with the thumbnail is show it to someone and ask this question. And if their answer is totally off or they're just not sure, then it's time to go back to the drawing board because that thumbnail is not as understandable as it should be. Outside of the meme niche, people don't click what they don't understand. And the faster they get it, the quicker they click it. Now that I'm doing this for every video, I don't waste time overthinking my thumbnails, which before was a lot of time, honestly. Now I just ask the question and I know. Pro tip: an easy way to ensure thumbnail clarity is by using popular thumbnails as sort of a template. This helps you know with where elements should go, how big they should be, what colors really work, what fonts really work. I could go on and on. Here's an example of one I did that was inspired by Matt D'Avella. Not the same topic, but definitely a great composition. Top-down angle, element on the left is a person, element on the right, his was a book, mine is text. The thumbnail did really well. Thanks, Matt. Pro tip: whenever you see a thumbnail or title that you think has potential, then save it to a folder. Every YouTuber I know has a folder that they can quickly take inspiration from. Pro tip: the outside perspective is way too valuable to only use for thumbnails. Show people your videos too and ask them where your videos started to lose them. Feedback can be discouraging sometimes, but it truly is the easiest and fastest way to improve. And you don't have to be shy now, because we have a Discord full of people doing exactly this. It also helps when it's someone you don't know. So now that we've covered the 5 things we no longer have to overthink, we're gonna add one more to that list: the algorithm. Growing on YouTube is so simple when you know how to trick it, and you and I, we're gonna talk about that in this video right here. It's a good one.